A John Deere 8R 410 rolling out of the Waterloo plant has been the standard answer for row crop work in the Corn Belt for long that most operations stopped asking the question. 410 horses at the flywheel, E23 transmission, auto track baked in, JD Link phoning home every minute the key is on. Deere has been making tractors in Waterloo since 1918, and for 2 generations of corn and soybean farmers in Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska, that green and yellow paint was just what showed up at planting. The dealer network is thick, parts on the shelf, financing at the desk, a trade cycle every 3 to 5 years that worked because everyone in the township was running the same color. That was the deal, and for a long time it was a fair deal. Then something started shifting around the shop. A neighbor near Bloomington brought home a Fendt 1050 Vario. Then a custom outfit out of Kansas showed up to a corn harvest pulling Claas Lexion combines instead of S-Series. A potato grower in Idaho replaced his row of 9Rs with Fendt 900S and didn't make a big deal out of it. He just did it. The auction reports out of Steffs & Sullivan started carrying more European iron, more often at numbers that didn't look like clearance. AGCO, which owns Fendt out of Marktoberdorf, Germany, has been quietly expanding its Jackson, Minnesota assembly footprint, building Fendt tractors on American soil for American fields. Founded in 1,930 inches Bavaria, Fendt isn't new. It's just new here at this scale. And the row crop operator standing in his shop at 6 inches the morning looking at a quote for a new 8R next to a quote for a Fendt 942 is asking a question Deere didn't used to have to answer. Farmers, if you run row crop and you've been watching this shift in your own county, hit subscribe because this one's about your shop, your iron, and your next trade. Start with what the operator actually feels in the seat. The Vario CVT in a Fendt isn't new technology. It's been in the field in Europe since 1995, and it does something an E23 or a power shift just doesn't do. Stepless, from a creep to road speed, without a shift, without a torque interruption, without the operator thinking about a gear, on a planter at 5.5 miles per hour pulling through variable ground. The Vario holds the load and lets the engine settle into its sweet spot for fuel. On a grain cart unloading on the go, the operator matches the combine speed by feathering a joystick, not hunting a gear. The cab pressurization, the air ride, the way the armrest is laid out, Fendt has been refining that workstation for 30 years on operators who sit in it 12 hours a day during a short European harvest window. The lighting package alone on a 900 series will light up a field at 2 inches the morning like a stadium. Claas, founded 1,913 inches Harsewinkel, brought the same philosophy to its Lexion combines, which have been assembled in Omaha since 1999 at the joint plant. The threshing system, the APS hybrid, the way the machine handles green-stem soybeans late in the season, operators who switched will tell you the grain tank fills cleaner. None of that means Deere builds a bad tractor. An 8R will run, a 9R will pull anything you hook to it. The S780 is a serious combine. That's not the argument. The argument is what happens when something breaks, and what happens when you try to fix it yourself. Long hours in the cab wear on a body in ways the brochure never mentions. A guy running a planter for 16 hours on day 3 of a tight window, lower back locked up, shoulders tight from steering corrections the auto steer almost handled. Not quite. That operator notices every detail of the seat, the suspension, the visibility out, the right rear quarter to the marker. Operators who move to Fendt talk about climbing out at the end of a day and not feeling beaten. The cab is quieter. The CVT means no clutch leg fatigue, no shift hunting. Small things. They add up over a 600-hour spring. And then there's the part nobody puts in the ad the moment a code throws on the screen at 9 p.m. on a Saturday with rain coming Monday. The operator pulls out the laptop, plugs into the diagnostic port, finds out whether he owns his tractor or rents it from a software license in Moline. That's the fight that cracked the dominant position open. The right to repair fight has been grinding through statehouses and federal court for years now. Deere signed a memorandum of understanding with the American Farm Bureau Federation in January 2023, promising to give farmers independent shops access to diagnostic tools and parts. Then in January 2025, the Federal Trade Commission sued Deere in the Northern District of Illinois, alleging the company unlawfully restricted repair to its authorized dealer network and forced farmers into delays and costs they shouldn't have had to eat. The Illinois Attorney General and Minnesota Attorney General joined that suit. There are class actions still moving through federal court, consolidated in the Northern District of Illinois, filed by farmers who say the repair monopoly cost them real money during real planting and harvest windows. Deere has denied wrongdoing. The cases are live. But the row crop operator doesn't need a verdict to know what he's been living. He's been living it every time the dealer truck showed up 3 days later than promised. The tech with the laptop authorization was tied up at another farm. He's been living it every time a sensor that costs $40 threw a code that wouldn't clear without a service call that cost $600. He's been living it every time he watched a younger neighbor sell off a perfectly good late model 8R. The tech package was more headache than the work it saved. Meanwhile, in Marktoberdorf, in Harsewinkel, in Jackson, Minnesota, the European builders kept doing the unglamorous thing. They kept letting operators access their machines. They kept their diagnostic philosophy more open. Fendt dealers in the United States are still a thinner network than Deere's. That's real. Any row crop operator weighing a switch has to look at his nearest Fendt dealer on a map. Ask honest questions about parts, about loaner units, about what happens on a Sunday in October. AGCO has been spending on that network. The Jackson plant has been adding capacity. The dealer count has been climbing. It's not parity, not yet. But it's no longer a curiosity either. The decision to switch colors doesn't get made in the cab. It gets made at the kitchen table in February with the banker's spreadsheet and last year's repair invoices spread out. The wife asking why the same tractor that worked fine in 2018 needed $11,000 in dealer-only service calls in 2024. It gets made when a custom harvester pencils out his season and realizes his Claas Lexion ran more acres per breakdown than the green machine he traded. It gets made when a 4,000-acre operation near Cedar Falls looks at a Fendt 1050 and a Deere 9R side by side. Realizes the resale on the Fendt 3 years out is holding better than the spreadsheet predicted. Deere isn't going anywhere. The Waterloo plant will keep building tractors. The dealer network from Quad Cities to Quincy is still the deepest in the business. The S and X series combines will be in fields this fall by the thousands. A company founded in 1837 by a blacksmith in Grand Detour, Illinois doesn't get unseated in a quarter or a year, but the monopoly on the row crop conversation is over. Farmers are asking out loud whether the machine they bought is theirs. They're asking whether the trade cycle still pencils. They're asking whether the green paint is worth the lockout. And some of them, quietly, are answering by parking something red-wheeled and German in the shed next to the planter. The yellow circle around the European tractor isn't a marketing trick. It's a question being asked in shops from Indiana to Idaho about who really owns the iron when the screen goes dark. Farmers, if you've already made the switch or you're weighing it this winter, drop your hours in your county in the comments. Subscribe for the next one. We're going deeper on the dealer networks and the resale numbers next.